So let's have a look at the Litepanels Gemini 2x1 RGB-WW light. Now this is primarily a studio light, but it can be used out on location. The Litepanels Gemini is very well constructed and the housing is made out of aluminium. I think Litepanels have come a long way, and the Gemini is by far the best built Litepanels light that I have seen over the years. They've really paid attention to small things and all the little details, and the overall build quality and quality of the finish of all the materials and the switches and the dials is really first class. Now on the yoke frame, you can adjust the light around full 360 degrees to any position you want. It's really nice. It doesn't get obstructed and hit on anything. It feels nice and solid, and it allows you to place the light in any position you want. I did find, however, though, that even if I locked this off as hard as I possibly could, you still got movement when you moved it around. That's just something that I would have liked to have seen made a little bit better on this particular unit. You can see it's got giant big heat sinks on the back, and it also incorporates a fan, which I'll talk about a bit later. And as you can see, all the controls are built into the fixture. The fan, the ballast, all your controls are all there on the rear of the unit. And as I said before, there's a big fan on there, which is really quiet actually. You can turn it off, but I didn't find any need to. On the top of the unit, you've got a USB interface for doing firmware upgrades, and there's also a little device there so you can put in a Bluetooth wireless controller to control the light as well. So on the back you can see this is where all the controls are. It's sort of two separate pieces that are integrated into one. So the control unit and the ballast are separate from the actual light head, but they're combined in there, and it's a nice way of doing it. And you've got your mains in and your through output here. So it's really nice. You can gang or link chain multiple Gemini units together, which is really handy, and run them all through one power supply. There's also a 28 volt DC in if you want to run this light off an optional DC battery 28 volt source. Really nice locking in connector, just push in and twist and you're ready to go. As the unit is primarily designed for studio use, there's plenty of DMX in and DMX out connectors for using that type of capability. There's a simple on and off switch here, so when you press it on, you'll see the light will eventually come on. It'll blink once and then it comes on full green and the light display comes up. And the display is nice and clear. It shows you all the available information that's required and what's going on with your Gemini fixture, all clean and concise. You can see your Kelvin temperature. You can see, in this case, my green offset, my dimming on there. Also, whether the fan's working, and also a temperature indicator on there, and it also tells you if the fan's working down below there. It says fan only. So you can see all the controls are laid out really nicely. This is handy if you've got the unit up high on a light stand. You can see it quite easily. There's 3 different modes on the Gemini here: the CCT mode, color modes, and also an effects mode. So if I go into the CCT mode, this just allows me to adjust between 2700 to 6000 Kelvin in increments, and there's also a green offset that you can see here. So I can actually, dial in more green or take green out of the image by using this CC offset. Here it gives you a lot of range of flexibility, and it goes up really high. So, really nice if you're trying to match other lights that might have a green cast or may have a bit of more of a magenta tint to them. You can actually dial it in and sort of match those sources. Really handy. I really like having this adjustment on lights like this. Very, very handy indeed. You can see I can make my adjustments in 10 degrees of Kelvin there, from 6000 all the way down to 2700. Nice finite control, but you can also go through it fairly quickly. I'll just set it back up to 56 here. And then also you've got your dimming control, obviously, so you can go up in 0.1% increments up there, really nice, and it stays on at 0.1 as well, which is really handy, and so you can move it up and change the dimming depending on the type of output that you need. Very easy to use controls here on the Litepanels. The box going around is nice because it shows you what you're actually doing. Everything's clearly displayed. I really like that functionality. So if I go down here now into color modes and I press the button to access it, I've got HSI mode and I've also got gel mode. So HSI mode is hue, saturation, and intensity. So you can see I can change the hue, I can change the saturation, and the intensity is obviously my dimming level in terms of the strength of what I am doing there. Here I can adjust the saturation. So this RGB-WW is really nice because it allows you to control and manipulate the light and make it create any sort of color that you would like. It's not as bright as if you're using it in the regular mode. That's just something to be aware of. But it's really nice to see here too. What you can do is you can turn it off, and this applies to all modes. And when you turn the light back on, everything comes back into the last position that you left it on. So if you're working on set or something and you turn it off for a break and you come back, you can turn it on and be guaranteed that the settings are going to be exactly the same when you fire that light back up again. The other mode here is gel mode, which is really nice. So what Litepanels have done is that they've electronically, I guess, converted a lot of available gels from Roscoe and a few from Lee here. Again, so you can change this between a tungsten or a daylight source depending on how you're using the light, and then you can basically electronically replicate a large range of all these different filters. Really handy to use if you want to match say an old HMI or some other type of light where you're maybe putting a gel in front of it. This allows you to do that, or also just create a different look based on the gel you would like to use. Really nice feature to have in here. Maybe not everybody's going to use it, but it's very nice having it in there at your disposal. I really like the range that they put in there. There's a lot of different options that are available to use with this particular gel system that's in there. So we'll just click and get out of this, and now I'll go to the effects mode. So effects mode is a whole bunch of preset effects that you can choose from. This is not necessarily a new feature. Other lights have had this in the past. It gives you quite a few different options. Handy for replicating some particular scenes that were in the past maybe difficult to achieve. So for instance, I'm just going to click on emergency here, and you can see I can change all the different parameters here. I can obviously change the dimming, the colors, the pulses, and it's nice because the display tells me which control changes what parameter, which is really nice. The left dial, the center dial, and the right hand dial all have different abilities to do things. So you can change the pulses, you can change the colors. Really nice to do that. I'll go down to a different one now, and we'll just have a look. So we'll go to say paparazzi. So again here you can make all these different adjustments depending on what you want to do and how you want to set up that effect. Again, you can press the left to control all the right, and it shows you what it's doing: frequency, CCT, and dimming by turning it. And if you press the button down, then it'll go between different modes. So if you press the left button, it'll go between bulb, center goes between loop, so it's all these different parameters. They're very easy to work out how to use because it's labeled really nicely in the menu. So really nice to have all these different effects that are available. You may not use them again. It's sort of one of those things that maybe occasionally you'll use, but nice to have inside the light as well. So here in the settings, you can see we have all our different options here for wide DMX, wireless DMX, Bluetooth in, auto detect in, master replica in and out. Now master replica in and out is nice because what you can do is you can actually, if you're gang chaining or syncing a whole bunch of the Geminis together, you can get them so that you make adjustment on one and adjusts all of them. That's really nice. Again, here you can see you can turn the fan on or off. You can change the display, backlight dimming, backlight time. You can rotate the screen if you've got it upside down. Really handy. Not a lot of people do this in their lights, so I like having that particular function in there. Just like handy things that Litepanels have done, and they've just paid attention to detail with this light, which is what I really like. Go to USB. This is where you do your firmware updates. And Litepanels has been constantly updating this light since it first came out with new features, so it's nice to be able to have the ability to update the firmware in here. You can see your information, which is really nice. It gives you clear and concise information about what's going on with your particular light. You can check the firmware, you can check your serial number, all those different things, which is really nice. You can go back to system defaults, so you can reload everything back up to the factory settings, which is nice. And then there's system utilities. So there's a system test you can do here. There's the effects calibrate, and then there's the other gel test you can do here. So calibration is really good. So what it'll do is it'll just go through a whole bunch of different steps and calibrate to make sure that the light is correct. Really nice to be able to do this. I'm not sure how often you really should need to be doing this type of thing, but it's nice to have the ability to check all the different buttons and everything to make sure everything is working. And what else I like on the Geminis here is it's got all these different presets here, and if you can toggle between the two of them, so you can have them set up as presets between 2700K, then 3200K, 4000K, 5000K, 5900, also 5600 and 6000K, so you can instantly just go between those. Really nice to be able to do that quickly in a hurry. Now if you want to also, the preset, if you press it once again and you'll see the button goes up, it now becomes a user preset, so it gives you 6 user presets. So what that allows you to do is go through, doesn't matter what mode you're in, you can use it in effects mode or in RGB-WW mode with the hue, saturation, intensity, or just in regular Kelvin color temperatures, and make adjustments to the green offset, and then you can store those. So just by pressing down on that button, I can then save that to that particular preset, so I can just go back and instantly create that. So if I'm working with a particular camera and I like a particular, I know the light's working well in whatever particular color temperature and CCT offset, then it's really nice to be able to just store that so I can recall it back and use it at any time.